Hey there everybody, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of The MonkeyBoy Presents the DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss, and today I'm happy to bring you issue number 82, Dr. Mid-Nite, and this is another great character, another probably somewhat obscure character for the casual DC fan. He is a member of the Justice Society of America, a Golden Age hero, and he's been around for quite some time, to be honest with you. If you are familiar with him, chances are you caught him on an episode or two of Justice League Unlimited, where he did appear on that old animated series. Great show. If you haven't checked it out, you really should. More recently, he sort of had a little nod in the live-action television show Smallville. There was a painting inside of the Justice Society's museum, or whatever it was, in the show, and in this painting was Dr. Mid-Nite, which was pretty cool, along with pretty much all of the Golden Age JSAers. And even more recently than that, he has appeared on an episode of Batman the Brave and the Bold, along with most of the JSA, the Golden Age JSA. For those of you who aren't really aware of Dr. Mid-Nite, well, don't worry, that's why we have the magazine, which we'll take a look at first, and it'll tell you everything you need to know about the character known as Dr. Mid-Nite, also known as Dr. Charles McNider. And then we'll take a look at the figure itself, covering the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's a really great character. The magazine primarily looks at the original Dr. Mid-Nite. It only really mentions the new Dr. Mid-Nite at the very end, but we'll cover that shortly. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy issue number 82 of the DC Comics Superhero Collection by Eaglemoss, Dr. Mid-Nite. First up, the character section. Where we meet Dr. Charles McNider, a brilliant young surgeon and inventor who was enlisted by the local police department to save the life of a witness who had been shot during a robbery. The witness had information vital to the conviction of a mobster known as Killer Maroney. In a last desperate attempt to silence the witness and avoid jail time, Maroney's thugs used hand grenades to destroy the wing of the hospital that Dr. McNider and the witness were in. It was late one night when a depressed and restless Dr. McNider was wandering through his house that an owl crashed through his window. Instinctively, McNider ripped off the bandages on his eyes and found that he could somehow miraculously see in the dark. McNider began to experiment in his lab, creating goggles that allowed him to see in both the light and the darkness, as well as blackout bombs that would emanate an impenetrable smoke that only he was able to see through. Dr. Mid-Nite and Hootie continued their nocturnal adventures fighting crime, when they eventually ran into members of the Justice Society of America who were tracking the villainous scientist, Professor Elba. Dr. Mid-Nite accompanied the JSA to help bring down the mad scientist, and after their mission was complete, he was extended full membership into the JSA. After helping to defeat the Nazi Party in Europe, the JSA returned home to America, only to find their own loyalty being called into question by members of the United States Senate. event known as the Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Anti-Monitor was stopped from destroying all of the multiverse, and the JSA were thought to have been killed in the battle, but were in reality trapped between dimensions. Nevertheless, the aging Dr. Mid-Nite helped save the citizens of an island nation known as Bodnesia from an ethnic cleansing, and continued to serve with the JSA, taking down supervillains like the Ultra-Humanite. Next, we look at a couple of Dr. Mid-Nite's classic stories. First up, All-Star Comics number 8. In this action-packed Golden Age tale, Dr. Mid-Nite learns that a local gang has stolen a serum that can cause insanity in normal everyday citizens. After discovering that this gang plans on unleashing it on the city, Dr. Mid-Nite calls for assistance in the form of the Justice Society of America. Together they successfully stop this organization from turning the populace insane, and by story's conclusion, Dr. Mid-Nite is made an official member of the Justice Society of America. Next, we look at Smash Comics number 1. This single-issue tale is actually part of a larger story arc called The Justice Society Returns. It's the close of World War II, and the Nazis have summoned a transdimensional warrior named Stalker to gather weapons of mass destruction to use in a last-ditch bid to conquer or destroy the world. The JSA learns of this and break into teams of 2 and scatter across the globe in order to hopefully stop Stalker before he even gets there. Dr. Mid-Nite is teamed up with his fellow hero Hourman and are sent to the Scottish Highlands, where they have to try and defend a British military installation. It's a great issue that actually even sees Hootie getting a chance to take down some bad guys, and he gets superpowered temporarily as well. Lots of fun, action-packed, and very well illustrated. Dr. Mid-Nite's Friends and Foes section features his JSA teammates Hourman and Starman, and his proteges Beth Chapel and Peter Cross. Finally, the iconography section takes a look at some of the other heroic legacies in the DC Universe. It looks first at probably the most famous heroic legacy in the DC Universe, that of the Flash, Barry Allen, whose one-time sidekick Wally West took over as the Flash after Barry was thought killed in the Crisis on Infinite Earths. We next learn that after the original Hourman was killed in the Zero Hour Crisis, his son, Rick Tyler, took over as the new Hourman. It also talks about how Hourman's JSA teammate Wildcat inspired a group of teenage boys to patrol their local city as the heroes Little Boy Blue and the Blue Boys. We also meet the second heroine to call herself Liberty Bell, a girl named Jessie Quick, who's the daughter of Golden Age hero Johnny Quick and the original Liberty Bell. Finally, it looks at the youngest member of the JSA, teenager Johnny Thunder, who was in control and possession of an entity known as Thunderbolt. Decades after his retirement, Johnny Thunder accidentally passed on the Thunderbolt entity to local teenager Jakeem Williams, who signed up with the reformed Justice Society of America as the new Thunderbolt. Here we have Dr. Mid-Nite and Hootie, which is a great detail. Love that they included Hootie with him. This, of course, is the Golden Age version of Dr. Mid-Nite, the Charles McNider version, not the more recent modern version of Peter Cross or Pieter Cross, who's been around for the past 10 or 15 years, I guess. But I really like this. I'm partial to the Golden Age look of the characters, like Alan Scott, like Jay Garrick,
like Our Man, who we'll have here in a few issues. Really dig this guy. He is probably one of the best heroes in the line, honestly. The sculpt is outstanding, as you can see, and the paint, the colors are great. Really clean edges on this guy. Hootie is one of the best things about this sculpt. You can see they really spent a lot of time on him. Great face, his eyes are yellow, the beak is detailed. There's even a little bit of a grayish wash through his feathers, like on the tail feathers on his wings, on his chest. It's really nice. As for Dr. Mid-Nite, you can see the cape is a great detail, lots of folds, lots of blowing around in the wind, great wash on it so you can see all those folds and wrinkles. Love the moons on his chest, those quarter moons, and on his head. They're all a nice metallic silver, all extremely clean, no bleeding on those. All the way down to the boots, which I love those old-fashioned boots, the way they fold over on themselves like that. I think it's great. And the black on his costume has this great glossiness to it, so it helps break it up. He's not a solid, he's not all flat all the way through and through like the red and the green are. You can also see the underside of the cape is a slightly different shade of green, which is really nice. It breaks it up. He is, I think, a great looking character. Really nice to have another JSA member, especially Golden Age heroes. I really dig the Golden Age heroes a lot. Talk a little bit more about him with some better pictures in a moment.
Dr. Mid-Nite stands atop the classic DC logo, and the underside of his base features his name and serial number. And to give you a sense of scale, here he is with the Golden Age members of the Justice Society of America. And one more group shot with most of the Justice Society of America figures that Eaglemoss has made so far. Dr. Mid-Nite is another great Golden Age DC hero. He's classic, I think he's timeless, and I think he's one of the nicest figures in this series, to be totally honest with you. There is not another figure that looks quite like him, and the fact that they included Hootie is an awesome detail. Let us, as always, begin with the good, and we may very well stop there, too. I love this figure. I think the paint is outstanding, the colors are great, it's as clean as can be. I love his goggles. The quarter moons all over him from, down his chest and on the forehead are all perfect. There's no bleeding whatsoever. Love the boots, as you can see. Great sculpt on this guy, through and through, from top to bottom. The sculpt is outstanding. There's a great wash on those boots. You can see all the crinkles and wrinkles on them. They look a little bit worn in. I love the tunic that he wears and the fact that the shirt tails are poking out beneath the belt. Great touch. It kind of reminds me of the Red Robin figure we had a few issues ago. The belt is also great. It's thick. It's this nice glossy black, and the gold buckle is a great detail. The closed clenched fist hand is nice. You can see, again, the gloves. Great mold, great sculpting, great shading and shadowing. The cape is outstanding. It's big. It's blowing around. So many wrinkles and folds. It's a great wash, and the color is great. It's almost a sort of evergreen, or like a pine tree kind of green, and the interior of the cape is a deep green, almost black, and it really helps the rest of the character stand out. It helps that red really pop, and the gloves really look good against that sort of dark backdrop. Hootie is also absolutely fantastic. I love that he's included here, and he is an outstanding sculpt like the rest of Dr. Mid-Nite. Every feather is detailed. Feathers are feathered. The paint job is outstanding. He's not just a solid brown through and through. There's a gray sort of wash, gray highlighting on his feathers, on the chest, on the wings, on the tail feathers, even around his eyes. So it just helps break him up, and he looks more natural that way. The ears are great. The beak is awesome, and his eyes are also really nicely detailed. They're yellow with black pupils. He just has so much personality, I think, too. Great sculpt on Hootie. Finally, the head sculpt on Dr. Mid-Nite is nice. It's as it should be. There's not much to his head sculpt because he does wear a mask all the way around his face, but what is there is great. Again, that quarter moon is perfect. There's no bleeding, and it's a metallic gold. And the goggles look great. I love the fact that they went with the blue. The silver around the lenses is fantastic, and I think Dr. Mid-Nite, one of the best figures in this line. On to the bad. Minor paint bleeding on this guy. Seriously, that's about it. There's really nothing wrong with this figure, in my opinion. He is about as near perfect as you can get. Finally, the ugly. The only thing to watch out for on him would probably be Hootie. If he falls, he'll pop right off of that arm because he is just attached on his little talons there. So you do want to watch out for that. Otherwise, he is an extremely solid figure. Overall, I'm extremely pleased with Dr. Mid-Nite, if you can't tell. It's one of my favorite figures in the series. I think the pose is absolutely unique and iconic, and the fact that they included Hootie is just a magnificent touch. I really, really love that they gave him his little pet sidekick. I love the Golden Age heroes. I think he looks timeless. I think he looks classic. Is he obscure? Yeah, I think he is obscure for most people, unless you're a JSA fan, but I think he's worth picking up. He is one of the most near perfect figures in the line, in my humble opinion, and I think he's great. Definitely worth checking out Dr. Mid-Nite, and I hope you guys have enjoyed checking out my review of Dr. Mid-Nite. Please stay tuned for the next issue in the series, issue number 83. Another hero, another member of the Green Lantern Corps. He was actually the sole Green Lantern on Earth and in the galaxy after Hal Jordan went crazy and then got killed. So we'll take a look at that guy next. Please stay tuned for that quick teaser. As always, I am your host, the Monkey Boy, aka Jay to his friends. Thanks for watching.